Hello and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, hi, you are very welcome. This is Reading the Past and I'm Dr. Cat. And welcome to the last Reading the Past video of 2023. I do hope that everyone has had a lovely festive season so far and a wonderful Christmas if you celebrate. If, though, we were at this very moment to be transported back to this very day in history, at, say, one of the years during the reign of King Henry VIII, we would still very much be making our list and checking it twice. Because at New Year, we would be hoping to please, impress, even dazzle our monarch with the most fabulous and unforgettable gift that we could both think of and afford. Now, of course, we must be mindful that that gift is not too flashy. We must, after all, avoid either offending or indeed embarrassing more prominent courtiers and even members of the royal family. If we get it right, though, we will get our monarch's attention for all the right reasons. And a gift will normally follow in return, and perhaps that gift would be further sweetened with promotion and preferment, or even forgiveness, if that is what we are at this point seeking. The stakes were high, and there was everything to play for. With that in mind, what shall we buy? At around this time last year, we were exploring the Christmas celebrations of the Tudor period as a whole. And I will leave that video linked, but as part of that video, I did touch on the extant gift rolls and on some of the items that can be found upon those gift rolls. In this video, however, the tradition of gift giving and the gifts exchanged and recorded during the reign of King Henry VIII will be our sole focus. So, let's jump in. The official record of the gifts given and received by King Henry VIII at New Year 1532 has, to my mind, some fairly interesting blank spots. We see that Catherine of Aragon, the Queen, is named, but the gift entry spot is left blank in each case, both as a donor and as a recipient. There is also, as we can see, a blank space for the gift that was given to the Lady Anne. We do get a fuller picture through Eustace Chapuis's letter to the Emperor Charles V, dated to the 4th of January. In this letter he writes, quote, "Though the Queen has been forbidden to write or send messages to the King, she sent him the other day by Sun Novel, or one of his chamber, a gold cup as a present, with honourable and humble words. But the King refused it, and was displeased with the person who presented it. 2 or 3 hours afterwards he looked at it and praised its fashion. And fearing that the person who presented it would return it to the Queen's messenger, and that the latter might make a present of it publicly to the other, who could not refuse it, he ordered it not to be returned till the evening, and so it was sent back to the Queen. The King has sent her no present, and has forbidden the council and others to do so, as is usual. He used to send New Year's presents to the ladies of the Queen and Princess, but this has not been done this year. Thus they will lower the state of both, unless there is speedy remedy. He has not been so discourteous to the lady, who has presented him with certain darts of Biscayan fashion, richly ornamented. In return, he gave her a room hung with cloth of gold and silver, and crimson satin with rich embroideries. It is believed that the darts being referenced here were actually a type of spear. Some have suggested they were a form of light spear that were designed to be thrown, while others have described them as being boar spears. For those who are unfamiliar, a boar spear is not light, nor would it be intended to be thrown. Boars are famously very dangerous to hunt due to their incredible strength, and boar spears are designed with this in mind. The wings that we can see sitting behind the main blade serve to prevent a charging boar from goring its hunter when it becomes impaled on his spear. In short, this is a sign that even when impaled, a boar is so powerful and muscular that their body can travel up the length of a spear to injure the person who has hunted them. Henry's gift in return saw him provide Anne with fabrics for her room and her bed that would allow her to furnish those rooms in a manner that frankly befitted a queen. Now, Anne may not be his queen yet, at least not officially, but it certainly seems to me that Henry was very keen to have Anne housed in thoroughly royal style. In the same gifting season, Henry received, among countless other items, a pair of writing tables with a gold whistle from his sister Mary. This pair of writing tables refers to a small, portable tablet designed to be written upon. It was usually something designed for note-taking. The Bishop of Ely gave his king a hawk. Charles Brandon presented an 8 3/4 ounce gold ball, quote, for fume. Now, presumably, this is something that either held or gave off a perfume scent. Perhaps it did both. I imagine that it was something like a pomander. The Dowager Duchess of Norfolk provided, quote, the birth of our Lord in a box, which I assume to be some kind of nativity scene, possibly painted, possibly made up of models. Sir Arthur Darcy gave the king a pair of virginals. This refers to a musical instrument from the harpsichord family. As we get towards the bottom of this list, we see Thomas Cromwell. His place so low down on this list is a sign that he is on the royal radar, but has come nowhere near to reaching the heights that he will eventually achieve. At this time, he is recorded as having given his king a ring with a ruby. Tantalisingly, he also gifts him a box with images of the French king's children. I have no idea what Cromwell has in mind with this. Why is he giving Henry, a man who has famously pursued a son for so long, a box of images, presumably miniature portraits, showing the French king's sons and daughters? This rival king to Henry VIII, he has what Henry wants. What do you think Cromwell had in mind with this particular gift? And at the very end, last but I'm sure by no means least, we have Stephen Andrew giving his king a civet. For those who are unfamiliar, I will be showing a photograph of a civet on screen now. This beast may eventually have been removed to the Tower of London, where it would have joined the rest of the royal menagerie. At New Year 1534, Anne Boleyn was now the crowned Queen of England. Her daughter Elizabeth was now Henry VIII's heir. And at that New Year, Anne gave her husband, quote, a goodly gilt basin, having a rail or board of gold in the midst of the brim, garnished with rubies and pearls, wherein standeth a fountain, also having a rail of gold about it, garnished with diamonds. Out thereof issueth water, at the teats of 3 naked women standing at the foot of the same fountain. Unlike a lot of the gifts that we have seen and will continue to see being listed that we are discussing in this video, we do have an idea of what this particular gift looked like, as we have this design drawing made by Hans Holbein the Younger, often described as a, quote, table fountain. It has been suggested that this particular piece may have been intended as a means to wash your hands before, during and after the meal, that this was, in effect, a glorious centrepiece to be put on your table. It was common for a basin and ewer, something that was used for the same purpose, to be filled with warmed scented water. So I do wonder if the same may be true for Anne's table fountain. Is it possible that this piece was once filled with warmed rose water, for example? Either way, I really wish that this finished fountain was still extant, because I, for one, would absolutely love to see it. In the same year, Charles Brandon gave Henry, quote, a book garnished with gold, having therein a clock. I'm not exactly sure of what this refers to. I have thought that perhaps what's being described here is a manuscript text, bound, and in that binding, somehow, that text has been accompanied and placed with some kind of timepiece. Alternatively, it may be that this is a clock or timepiece that has been designed to be stored or housed within some kind of binding that is more commonly associated with books. Is it possible that what is being detailed here is a timepiece that is, for some reason, disguised as a book? In either case, I wonder, would it be interesting to anyone for me to put together a video on Tudor timepieces? If it would, please do let me know in the comments. Further down this list, we see the following, quote, "The presents are of the same kind as in previous lists. Among them, a silver gilt compass, 69 3/4 ounces, which I think is fairly self-explanatory as to what this item would have looked like, but I will see if I can find a photograph of a similar piece, most likely from a later time period. We also have a goodly table of Hercules, a table of our Lord. The tables, in this case, are flat boards onto which paintings have been made. In this case, Hercules and the Lord, respectively. We have a tablet of gold with an antic, possibly pronounced antique, face. This golden piece is presumably embossed or moulded into something that we might recognise as being a mask. Potentially, however, this is instead a gold item that has simply been painted with some kind of face. There was a primer of written hand in vellum. This is a prayer book or book of hours, handwritten on treated animal skins. Almost certainly richly illuminated, a thoroughly beautiful and bespoke piece. We have a goodly clock, so another timepiece, and, quote, esposia, or maybe esposier, of gold with a chain. I am unclear as to what this is referring to, and my attempts to research the matter have frankly run aground. So if anyone does have any thoughts on this, please do let me know in the comments. We see that there was also a goodly table of St. Jerome, so we have again a painted image of St. Jerome. A tablet of gold with a device of Venus and Cupido. This being Venus and Cupid, either painted and or embossed onto gold. 2 serviettes. My best guess is that these are fine pieces of cloth, intended for the king to use while he was dining so that he could wipe, clean and or dry his hands. There is also a marmoset. This is a small monkey, and here is a photograph of one that I have been able to find. As you'll be able to see in the examples that I am showing on screen now, these types of animals, or at least monkeys that look quite similar to them, were also found in a whole variety of Tudor portraits. Perhaps it would be useful for me to explore the shifting significance of monkeys in the art of this period. Do let me know if you would find a video on that interesting. The gift roll of 1539 is now housed in the Folger Library. In it, we learn that the king's barber, Edmund Harman, gave Henry, quote, a crimson hat thronged with a band of pearled gold. The team at Historic Royal Palaces have suggested a potential connection between this hat and the so-called Bristow hat, which is believed to have been given to Nicholas Bristow, Clerk of the Royal Wardrobe, by Henry VIII. It is possible that Henry was re-gifting the hat in this case. The HRP team write, quote, in style and quality it is likely to be an item that belonged to Henry. The thick pile appearance of the hat is created by thrumming, a common style in the 1530s. In 1539, Edmund Harman, the king's barber, gave Henry a crimson hat thronged with a band of pearled gold. There are evenly placed pierced holes around the crown of the Bristow hat, which may have been where such jewels were attached. Though we'll never know if the Bristow hat belonged to the king, it illustrates the practice of gifting select items of clothing, so common in the Tudor court. It has also been suggested that this fabulous and famous portrait of Prince Edward by Hans Holbein the Younger was gifted to Henry VIII during the same New Year celebrations too. Little Prince Edward was also the recipient of gifts at this time. From his eldest half-sister, the Lady Mary, he received an embroidered crimson satin coat. His other half-sister, the Lady Elizabeth, gave, quote, a shirt of cambric of her own working. This would have been a shirt made from fine linen that would have been imported from Cambrai in Flanders. A gold bell and a whistle also came his way, as did a whole collection of livestock, specifically oxen and mutton. Plus, there were a number of cups and bowls made from silver and gilt. The next year, 1540, Prince Edward was well provided for once again. His father gave him gilt tableware. The Lady Mary presented him with a gold brooch with the image of St. John the Baptist set with a ruby. From the Lady Elizabeth, he received a bracer of needlework of her own making. This is likely to be a type of guard for the lower arm and or wrist. It was commonly used for archery, but considering that Edward was only 2 at the time that this gift was given, I do wonder how much use he would have been able to make of it, at least at the very start. I also wonder what it says about his sisters and their choice of gifts. That Mary's gifts appear to have been manufactured by other hands, perhaps commissioned, certainly purchased by her, while Elizabeth handmade her own gifts for her brother in both years. I wonder what you might think about these seemingly very different approaches to gift giving. Certainly, handmade gifts would be something that Elizabeth would return to in later New Year gift exchanges. In 1545, Elizabeth presented her stepmother Catherine Parr with her own handwritten translation from French into English of Marguerite of Navarre's The Glass of the Sinful Soul. The following year, in 1546, she would translate John Calvin's Institution of the Christian Religion into English for Catherine. And in the same year, for her father, Elizabeth translated Catherine Parr's own Prayers and Meditations into Latin, French, and Italian. For the last New Year of King Henry VIII's reign, the New Year of 1547, we see the 9-year-old Prince Edward writing letters of gratitude for the gifts that he had received. In separate letters, all dated to the 10th of January, Edward wrote to thank Henry VIII, Catherine Parr, and Mary his sister for their gifts to him. In the case of his stepmother, we learn that the gift in question was a pair of portraits of Henry VIII and herself. Now, I think this was a gift with political as much as familial intent. Catherine Parr would have been very aware of her husband's failing health. He would, after all, not live out that month. I believe that in this gift, she was seeking to assert and affirm her place as Henry's wife, a woman he had previously trusted to be his regent back in 1544 when he went to fight the French. After all, gifts given to members of the royal family were by no means a secret. They weren't exchanged in private. They passed through many hands. They were recorded. That is why we know of them today. And so I am led to ask, was these 2 portraits, Catherine's statement in regard to the prominence that should be her due as the king's widow, if, or indeed when that time should come? And with that, we come to the end of this Henrician Christmastide gift-giving exploration, and also the year 2023 on reading the past. If this has whetted your appetite, perhaps we can take a look at what was given at New Year's in the reigns of Henry's children in next year's New Year video. Well, what do you think of that idea for a follow-up video next year? Of Catherine Parr's potential motivations to give those portraits to Prince Edward? Of all the other gifts that we have looked at today? What do you think you would have given to King Henry VIII? What one of them might you have liked to receive? Did any of the non-extant gifts stand out to you as something you wish that we could see today? As always, I'm looking forward to reading your conversations in the comment section underneath this video. But I would also love it if you could pop an emoji or a social glyph in the comments too, because that will boost the engagement. And the more engagement a video gets, the more YouTube shares it out. And that does help us to grow this community. As we have been talking about presents, I think it's pretty obvious which emoji I think you should go for. You can find me elsewhere on social media. I will leave links to all the other places you can find me on the internet in my description box. Please do follow me over on some or all of those so that we can continue this conversation and start some others. I do hope that you enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you did, why not share it with your friends? In fact, if you like my channel, please let some pals know about it. You can tell me that you like this particular video by hitting the thumbs up. Please do subscribe to the channel, and if you think you're subscribed, now is a perfect chance. Just have a little check to make sure that YouTube hasn't unsubscribed you mysteriously against your will. And while you are there, checking, subscribing, maybe resubscribing, please do hit the bell icon that sits beside the subscribe button and then select all in the drop down that will appear, because that way YouTube claims, or at least alleges, that they will tell you when I've next uploaded, but also when I am next planned to go live, which I do to talk about the history news, so I know you are not going to want to miss that. We do, however, now have our failsafe. Head over to my website, www.katrinamarchant.com. I will link it in the description box. If you go to my contact page, you will see a little box to enter your email. That will add you to my mailing list, and I can send you out a weekly email with all of the links of what I'm going to be up to that week, so you can find out that way too. Thank you so much for spending this time with me, both during this video and during the rest of my content from this year. I hope you're going to have a great day, whatever you're doing, and I look forward to speaking to you all in my next video and in 2024. Until next year, take care of yourselves. Bye-bye for now.